Welcome to Holistic Living University. You are a beginner, you have no experience in growing your own produce. Well, here is your best opportunity to learn from scratch in the poorest soils. If I can do it, you can do it too. Grow and harvest abundance for your body, soul, and spirit. Today I would like to show you some home-sown seedlings that I have here in my little terrace nursery without any extra heat, with very cold nights, very hot days. You can see from these little fellows, they are sown in a homemade potting mix with soil from lovely gardens around here, from compost that I got from some of the beautiful gardens I'm looking after, a bit of leaf mold and sharp sand. And you see here the beetroots germinating Voltardi. You see kohlrabi, which is the most advanced, and you see also the curly kale, the Russian curly kale, red kale. Here is a sample of the parsley coming up where it was moist enough. I just got to mention that the seed mix was naturally moist. I didn't moisten it. It was from the places that it was stored, and it was a very wet winter, and then it dried, and it was just in perfect condition for sowing. So here we see also, let me have a look, that is the winter cabbage, which is sown now. The leeks haven't come up yet, nor the lettuces. There's just one little lettuce, or here's a few lettuces coming up now. This was a little bit drier part of the box. The outside dries out faster, and I didn't tuck it in well enough. You can see how it's tucked in with plastic old sandbags. Underneath I got this newspaper which is moist, a little bit moist, not too much. You see a bit of condensation here from the sun in the daytime. That moisture rains down on the paper and then keeps the top of the seed flat moist. I have not watered these seed flats. Now this one here next to the wall, where it's more shady, has some mold growing on it where the rocket's been sown, and then you see the Chinese mustard coming up, and the onions are still waiting to come up. The little red white balls you see there lying on top, they are far infrared coral balls mixed to attract far infrared light to warm the seed. In this seed box we can see that the root ball is so well developed that they started touching the bottom of the seed box, and they started growing along the bottom where I had to put ash and the crushed up eggshells, and you can see how they're looking for nutrients there at the bottom of the box. And it's high time to get these into a deeper soil mix, so that's what we're doing. And they had extra nourishment at the bottom. That's why I put the eggshells and the wood ash soot. Over here is a bit of soot from the chimney underneath, and then when they're overstanding they can actually nourish themselves from the excess nourishment from the bottom of the box. I'd like to show you a phenomenon here which is unique in this sowing box. I'm not sure where all the seeds come from, but I noticed with other plants you see the little kind of semi-heart shaped leaf that's next to the celery plant. That's actually clover. So I'm going to transplant the clover with the celery, and I've done a few already over here in the corner. You see a clover there and a clover here. I'm really not wanting to eliminate all the wild plants, but rather just create these communities. Here you see the celery that was sown end of February and transplanted 2 times already, or pricked out from a box like this one here, where the kale is still from a first pricking out, the Russian kale and the green kale, curly kale. And then you see that planted on into the big pots that I'm going to care for in the spring, summertime. There's some volunteers in there. There's borage, and there's, with the celery, we have clover coming up. If it's not, I might be mistaken, maybe it's even wild cress. I'm not sure yet. I'll plant some of the wild plants in here, also for wild crafting. Here you see some chickweed, and lo and behold, with all my seed mixes there was a tomato seed. So you see a tomato baby coming up in here, which I transplanted with a kale, and here you see clover growing with a kale as a companion. So I really practice the companion plant on the micro scale here. You've got sweet peas that are going to be coming up here around the edge of the pot, and then with celery in the middle, and again kale, and I transplant the kale and interplant it together with the celery. And another example of planting it also with wild clover, fat hen, and over here we got again Sonchus arvensis, which is the sow thistle, and fat hen over here. So those ones I'm going to harvest first for salads. You can also see that I'm leaving the yellow leaves on the kale. I don't harvest them. Just like in our cellular tissue, if you look inside deep with microscope, you can see that actually a lot of the old waste products, which we call waste, are upcycled if we don't overfeed ourselves. The same happens in the plants. The older leaves are actually upcycled into the newer leaves, and when they die off completely, and if they're in a healthy environment, they protect themselves. They're not going to get diseased. In traditional, or say conventional gardening, from the RHS side of point of view, the Royal Horticultural Society, they would suggest, well, take dead leaves off, take diseased leaves off. But really, in our biodynamic management, we want to see that these plants actually are dealing with these stresses and producing their own resistant substances like the flavonoids and cyanoids, and I mean, name them, you have them. Every plant species have their own substance that protects them from attack from fungus and bacteria. It's antiseptic, and if the plants are allowed to develop them with a bit of disease and fungus attack on them. It's time for transplanting, or pricking out. In this case, transplanting into pots. You see a lovely red-tinted lettuce here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 true leaves, 6 one coming out of the center. The root system here is gorgeous, lovely root ball. This is how we want it. I took it out of this box here, which has a group of lettuces. Then it had Swiss chard, and it has also onions with quite a few chickweed in there, which I'm going to harvest to put in my salad tonight. And this one will now go with 3 others into this beautiful pot, beautiful soil, good well-rotted compost for the lettuces, that we press it right in there. Now you can stand up again and then make another little hole here and another here, and they're going to be cos lettuces, so they're going to be upright habit. They're going to have a little bit of shading. Look at this lovely root ball here that's coming out. We'll put it right in with all the so-called weeds or herbs. Pull some of them out, put the soil back, and press it in firm. This is very moist compost, so I don't even need to water them in. Make another hole here, and we're going to have in that pot, that's 25 centimeters on the top, and it's 22 centimeters deep, so that one should be fine for 3 lettuces. So if you don't have any garden, you just start planting your seeds, sowing your seeds in seed boxes like these ones here, or in these big ones. And then these ones here, they were sown in small boxes like these trays here, and then they were transplanted into these fruit crates. And now, as you see, just in a pot, but we've got also some of the plants planted outside in the garden, which I will show later. We're gonna go and visit the garden again. So here we go, 3 lovely lettuces. They're nicely protected from the wind, a bit lower. We don't need the full pot in depth, so I've got about 10 to 12 centimeters of soil depth. And by the way, below there is horse manure, which I picked up from the street, so that's quite fresh right now, but by the time the roots grow down, it will break down and nourish these soil organisms in this beautiful mix to such an extent that they will then convey all the good food to the plants. Hey guys out there, really happy to show you our babies we've sown 3 weeks ago. Look at them hugging, cuddling, snuggling up to each other. Now those, I bet you they don't mind about lockdown. In actual fact, if I would have sown those in modules or cubicles of plastic separated from each other, you know what would have happened? They would have been more prone to microbial attack. Does that sound familiar to you, or is that totally contradictory? But look at them, they're green, healthy, because they're growing in clusters, in community. They're supporting each other, they're communicating with each other all the time. And these have only been sown 3 weeks ago. Now, in another 3 weeks, we're going to harvest the first radishes. So we'll keep you posted, keep on track. Are you sowing your seeds? Are you pampering your seeds? Are you pampering yourself? Are you actually still snuggling and hugging? I hope this short clip was of value to you. I will accompany you from the beginning, starting your biodynamic garden to ensure your own secure food supply in these challenging times. Also, let's help others to grow their own food in any situation. To do this, click the share button, like this, and subscribe to the Holistic Living University channel. For more info, join my online course and Q&A sessions. The info for this you will find in the show notes.